All right, so welcome to an overview of virtuous insurance planning. We'll learn a little bit more about what I do as a company. I came up with this mission statement. It basically says our mission is to better the lives of our clients through insurance products and education. We take a tailored approach to each client, ensuring they get the product most suitable for their needs while maintaining a competitive price. So not only are we trying to get you the best price, we're trying to get you the most comprehensive product. I'll give you a little bit more about my background since that's what we focus on a lot here, so you guys know a little bit more about me. I used to be a store manager at the vitamin shop. That was about 12 years ago. I went on this pursuit of health and wellness, and I ended up in that industry. I worked my way up to becoming a store manager, and then I ended up becoming the field training manager for that company. And it definitely was a blessing to learn more about health and wellness. From there, I was recruited to work for 24 Hour Fitness. I worked at the one in Independence, Missouri. I ran that for about 2 years, 2.5 years. And that was pretty neat, getting the experience of working, at 9,000 members, had 40 employees. It was a pretty unique environment to work in, especially considering I never had worked in that industry before, but it was kind of cool. But when it sold, I ended up at SelectQuote Insurance Services. That's where I actually met Nick, which you guys will get to meet him a little bit later, but he's been in the insurance industry a lot longer than me. And you'll learn more about that. But 24 Hour Fitness sold to Genesis, didn't have a job anymore. Had a buddy that worked at SelectQuote Insurance Services. He's like, hey, we're hiring for annual enrollment period. I joined, started selling Medicare. And that's basically where I met Nick. We used to work together there. So, I did that, and after about 3.5 years, decided to leave and start the company you see now, Virtual Insurance Planning. And the main reason I did that was because you could see whenever you work with one company, you're very limited on what you can offer people, which is unfortunate. And knowing what I knew about the industry, anybody in the insurance industry can go out and start representing all these other companies if you just know the right people to work with. So not only could I represent more than just life insurance or Medicare, which is what we did there, now I can do everything else, which is kind of neat. And then also commissions higher, obviously. So there's that benefit. And then building a legacy, you can't really do that when you're working for a large company. You're very limited. Their structure is set up to basically you talk to the person once, and then they don't want you to talk to them ever again. They just want you to make the sell and it's done. And that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to partner with people for life. And then be like their go-to person when it comes to these type of products. So some of the services that we offer is life insurance and permanent policy design. We only work with A or A+ rated carriers. We always make sure that you get the lowest rate by going through all the underwriting manuals and making sure that the company's going to treat you most favorably. And then we can do life insurance retirement plans as well. Maybe I'll talk about that someday. Medicare insurance. So if you know anyone that's Medicare age, represent literally every company in every zip code. So that's not an issue. We just shop between all of them. Health insurance, whether it's like private insurance or Affordable Care Act plans, we do that. And then group insurance. So small businesses, this is people that have, at least a full-time employee or more, plus the owners. We can do group insurance options for them. Mostly medical plans. And then for the ancillary products, we go through Ike, who's on the call as well. Ike is great when it comes to ancillary products. And then if you're looking for those odds and ends like dental or vision products, hospital indemnity, cancer policies, identity theft protection, disability income, pretty much any of those random things that are out there, we can do those as well. And we do deal with annuities, estate planning, if we have clients that are down that way, but I don't really focus on that much in this group. So some of the carriers, as you can see, pretty much every name brand you can think of, big company it's in the insurance world, we represent. Whether it's Affordable Care Act, it's every company, Medicare, every company. When it comes to that, life insurance, same thing. We're literally just looking at all the top companies to see who's going to treat you most favorably. And there's more, obviously, there's a lot that we can go through. So I won't focus on any of those. I didn't want to take up too much time today because I want to give Nick a little bit of time as well. But I'm going to talk a little bit about our competitive advantages and then a little bit about a product highlight. I'll just highlight basically one type of product. Sorry, hit the wheel there. All right, my favorite book says, and whatsoever you do, do it heartily as to the Lord, not unto men. For whatsoever man soweth, he shall also reap. It's just principles I live by. So you just treat people right. and it comes around, in the end. I know everybody has different beliefs on that stuff, but that's what I hold to. So one competitive edge is that we're independent, so we're not tied to any one individual company. So I don't have to push Prudential's products. I don't have to push Lincoln Financial's products. I mean, I could literally, it's just what makes sense for you as an individual. And I don't really focus on the compensation of each company. I represent so many companies, I couldn't tell you what they all pay me, to be honest with you. they pay me something, but I just try to help the person, and then it comes around in the end. You get referrals whenever you just help people, and that's how I've grown the business up to this point. It's been word of mouth only, and it's definitely been working out there. So we do a lot of unique types of coverage too: travel insurance, identity theft coverage, small business options. But what's kind of neat is it's very rare that you meet someone in the insurance industry that can literally get everything: private insurance, Affordable Care Act, Medicare, group insurance, and we can do all that at the same time. So it's a big advantage whenever you deal with that. Usually when you talk to someone in the insurance industry, they represent one type of product. They may only do group insurance, or they may only do Medicare. They kind of isolate it when it comes to that. Back end support, I do have a back office that I work with that has 17 people. They're a multi-generational group, and they have a lot of experience in helping things get processed quickly. For applications, they have 40 years experience. And we do have a case design group that can help with financial planning if we need to get into those areas, but I don't really focus so much with that. So one thing that's kind of neat, whenever we worked at SelectQuote, we were writing anywhere from 80 to 100 policies a month. So you get a ton of experience, and you're doing that year after year after year after year, ton of experience in anything that could possibly come up. So there's a lot of experience there, because the average agent might write 10 to 15 policies a month on their own. But when you're writing 80 to 100 a month, you get tons of industry experience when it comes to how things work. So that gives us a unique understanding of how the industry works. And we work literally with clients with, that are broke, beyond broke, to as high as net worth as Fortune 500 companies. We've written policies for CEOs, all kinds of things over the years, working places that we've worked. So I want to talk today a little bit more about mortgage protection and disability income. He's going to talk more about mortgage protection, Nick is. But I just want to give you a couple questions to think about. Have you ever thought about how you would pay the bills if you were to become disabled? It's a question we don't often think about because we don't want to think about it, but it's a good question to think about. Examples of many ongoing bills that we have mortgage, car payments, student loans sometimes, credit card payments, childcare, cell phone, utilities, cable, groceries, business expenses, etc. So it's a good question to think about, because if you don't have your income, how are you going to pay all those things? So consider a couple of facts here. 7 in 10 working Americans couldn't make it a month without a paycheck. We've seen that with this financial crisis last year. They had to, kind of bail people out basically, because it's really hurting a lot of people. A lot of people don't realize that when they become disabled, the average time that you're disabled is 34 months. And 67% of the workforce don't have any type of disability income insurance. They don't have anything in place. That's pretty normal. 66% of all bankruptcies are tied to medical issues. 60% of Americans don't have a savings account to cover unexpected, expenses. 66% or 60% don't even have $1,000 in savings account. 90% of long-term disabilities result in illness rather than accidents. And then 33% of Social Security disability insurance claimants had their applications approved from 2007 and 2016, meaning that you can't necessarily rely on Social Security to help you out in those situations. So this is where disability income becomes important. We can do it for business side, which means it could actually pay all your business expenses if you become disabled, and then we can do it for individual side, whether that's just to cover mortgage or you want to replace your entire income, we can do that as well. I'm not going to get into all the specifics, but it can be done. And there's some good companies on that. And then I'll just go with these couple last questions here, and then I'll hand it over to Nick. So some questions I think everybody should ask themselves. And these are questions that I know Dave also promotes as well. How much income would you need to support your family or business if you could no longer work due to illness or accident? Obviously, if you have 401ks and other investments, you're okay. But a lot of people don't have those yet. That's why they need to get with Dave, so they can get those working out. But we're talking about until you get to that point, you have adequate assets built up. What would you do? how long could you go without a paycheck before it became too difficult to pay your bills? How would you afford to pay your mortgage or rent if your paycheck stopped? I mean, it's just, these are just things that are hard to think about, but it can be easily prevented, you know, with a disability income plan. Most people can qualify for them if you're fairly healthy, and we're not talking much, you know, 50, 60 bucks a month can replace most of your income a lot of times. So what's your most important asset? And I would argue it's you, because if you can't work, then everything else kind of goes away. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Nick, and this is Nick Pageant. He's been in the insurance industry since 2007. I'll let him kind of introduce himself and take it over from here.
All right, thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, so again, I'm Nick Pageant. I've been selling insurance since 2007. Lived in Florida at the time, but just kind of tailing off what Jonathan kind of started here. I focus on mortgage protection. It is a form of a life insurance. So kind of like you said, what's your most important asset is yourself. But for most people, outside of certain business owners, maybe their business, but your next most important asset is your home. That's where most of your asset over time and equity is gained for the long term. Everything else we throw money into, your cars, your clothes, those depreciate, those aren't worth anything. So protecting your mortgage in your house is very important. So if something happened to you or your spouse, family member, and that income stopped coming in, he kind of touched on this. How are you going to pay your mortgage? Final expenses. Do you want to leave money for your kids' education? Medical bills that may come up from that, credit cards, you know, just groceries, things like that. Like Johnson said, I've been doing this over 13 years. I've heard so many times, unfortunately, directly and indirectly, of people losing a family member and having to completely change their life, having to move in family members, having to downsize. So we offer products that can help prevent that. So here's kind of some more features. Again, it can completely pay off your mortgage. You get to choose where that money goes. So these are level policies. The way back in the day when these policies were offered, they were like they would decrease with your mortgage. Unfortunately, a lot of times when companies would decrease your coverage amount, they would also simultaneously increase your premium, which doesn't make any sense. But what we're looking at now is everything. Your coverage amount is going to stay the same. Your premiums are going to stay the same. Those are going to be locked in for you to cover your mortgage. Also, it stays with you. It's not locked to your mortgage. So if you move, pay it off, whatever the situation may be, you can have that and you can choose where that money goes. It can go towards the mortgage. You can put part of it towards the mortgage. You can pay off other debts that you may have accumulated over time. People's situation changes. I already touched on that. Let's see. We do have affordable plans for everybody. Everyone's budgets differently. So most people want to be able to pay off the mortgage and probably have some extra for other bills or to use money for education or whatever they desire. But we can set it up to pay off the partial mortgage, the whole mortgage. We can even customize it so it covers your mortgage payment for 12, 24, 36 months, 48 months, whatever. We can provide that money. That way you can kind of regroup and figure out what you want to do. You don't have to worry about where you're going to live. That mortgage is going to have money there to pay for that. You may decide to end up selling it and moving on, or move money around or sell other assets to be able to take care of your family. Also have a return of premium options available. Some people like this, some people don't. It does cost more money, but at the end of, let's say, depending on the product you go with, but let's say the end of a 30-year term to cover a brand new mortgage, you could get all your premiums back. So it's kind of an investment. It's tax-free. So if you paid $30,000 into this over 30 years to cover that, you're going to get every single penny of that back, depending on the product. Some do less than that, and the cost is associated with that as well, how much it pays back. So last thing here, a couple things. You don't have to die to receive these benefits. So if you come down with a critical illness, ALS, cancer, kidney failure, stroke, heart attack. My dad just had a stroke last summer. He's doing okay, thankfully, but any of these critical illnesses, there's options that we can put in these policies where you can get up to 95% of your policy value while you're still alive to help with unexpected expenses, whether it's medical expenses, mortgage because you're not working, things like that. Same thing with chronic illness. So this really refers to like activities of daily living, dressing, bathing, toileting, eating, getting in and out of the bed. If you can't perform 2 of those, I believe there's 6.
There's 6 here.
Then you can get up to 24% of your death benefit each year, up to the 95% of the total value. So if it's 100,000, you get 24,000 each year until it runs out. Again, all while you're alive. And then terminal illness is pretty standard on these policies, automatically included. You can get up to 95% if you're diagnosed with a terminal illness. Doctor says you're expected to live 12 months or less. Doesn't happen very often, but believe me, it does happen. And that's something you never have to pay back. So I've had people that have been diagnosed and then they live another 10 years. So, and once you do that, it's not a loan, but it decreases your death benefit on all of these. So once death benefit is what it is. So once you do pass, hopefully many years down the road, it's going to pay out whatever's left of it to your beneficiary. And that's pretty much it. It's a security blanket for you as the insured is not ever going to benefit from it unless you get one of those living benefits. But it's for your family. And it's definitely something to think about and consider.
Thank you, guys.
All right, if you have your mask on, you can stand up. If not, just give them a standing signal.